everybody, thank you for joining me again today here at Re-Ritten Vintage Homestead. It is pouring buckets outside here today in the Midwest, and so I thought it would be a great day to talk about green beans and maybe make a video about from seed in the ground to pot. For the longest time, I could never figure out how I would go to like potlucks and dinners and have the best southern green beans served, but yet I couldn't duplicate that at home. And I finally found out the secret, so I thought we would go over that today too. Thanks for joining me, and let's get going. So when we're at this point of processing the green beans, you want them as clean as you can get them, and it's also best if you can snap them the same day that you pick them so that they're fresher. So what you're going to do is you're going to snap off the ends. You're going to look for any signs of a fungus. Now, if you see black spots like this, you don't want that part of the bean, so we're going to snap that off. And the earlier you pick your beans, the better. Now, if you look at these, you'll see there's no beans. They're just fresh and small. So I'm going to snap them in half or bite size. I want to try to find one and show you one that was picked a little later. Wash this one off real good. You can also peel off the little silk there if you don't like that in your beans. So I'm going to snap this one, and if you look, it's fatter, so that's a good sign that it's an older one. When you get inside there, do you see the beans? I don't like the beans in my green beans. I like them young and tender and without the beans. But instead of disregarding these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the beans out, and I'm just going to use it a half shell like that. So you're going to bring them in, wash them good in cold water. Look for any signs of fungus or bug infestation. Make sure you wash them really well, break that off, snap your ends, pull your silk off if you need to, and you have a nice crisp piece like that. So I thought while I was snapping these beans, that would give us a good time to talk. So you guys, I had to put on my Dolly shirt today. Did everybody see that Dolly got dressed up in her Playboy outfit that she wore back in the 80s for a Playboy cover? She did that in celebration of her husband's 79th birthday. So, you know, this is for you, Carl Dean. They've been married a long time, you know, and I don't know how they've done it with her on the road all the time and always in the spotlight, but they have, so congratulations. I'm snapping my beans. I'm snapping the ends off, making sure there's no black spots or fungus or bugs or anything on them, and I'll wash them 3 and 4 times, but I'm using cold water. But last week, we took our oldest granddaughter. She's going to be going to college soon, out of state. I know, it's sad part of life, but good for her. When you make excellent grades and you're the top 10% of your of the graduating classes in the state of Illinois, you know, you get to go out of state for school. So, but we took her on a last hurrah vacation. She loves Dolly. So we went to Dollywood and Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, North Carolina, and we had a really, really good time. But we also went to the Hermitage in Nashville, which was Andrew Jackson's plantation. So we won't get through it all today, but I thought maybe we could talk about him a little bit. So I'll be honest with you, he always kind of got under my craw because of the Indian removal. Now, he wasn't in office when that took place, but, you know, the whole idea of it sprang under his watch. So that part I never rubbed right with me. But I learned a whole lot more about him. I knew some of it, but he, talk about a true American patriot that loved his country, loved his family. You know, and the presidents we have in this day and age, and I'm talking, you know, as long as I've been alive, they're not cut from the same cloth. Probably even now, you know, you have others that fought in wars and things like that during my parents' lifetime. So, you know, but really with my age group, we don't see heroes like that much anymore. His dad had passed away when he was very, very little. And at the age of 14, his brothers and his mom had passed away during the Revolutionary War. So he was on his own, and he would go live with relatives and people who would take him in. Now let's put into context when he grew up, okay? This was during the Revolutionary War. So, and at that time, there were only, I think, 28 states, very small. The West had, you know, was just starting to be explored. Native Americans were in the West. And so westward expansion was a big deal. You know, people wanted more room. They wanted to farm. Later on, we'll find out gold was discovered, and that really sped things along. But during his time, when he was a boy, he was seeing people killed on a daily basis. He was living on the border of North and South Carolina. There was constant chaos. You know, he didn't go to school and go out and play and that kind of thing. Actually, he and his brother had joined the army when he was very young, 13, I believe. His brother was 15. And they had been captured by the British and with a group of other people. And during the capture, one of the soldiers who decided to rub it in their faces asked Andrew Jackson, he didn't ask him, he told him, clean my boots. That didn't go over well. You know, some people you can push, other people you can't. He's one of those you couldn't, especially after he's already lost some family members to the British. So basically he told him to go to hell. I don't know how they spoke during those days, but I can tell you what my son would say, go to hell. So because of that, the British soldier took his saber and whap, right his way. He tried to guard himself like this, but it still cut his hand and part of his face. And he had that for the rest of his life. And it always reminded him of why America, the United States, a United States, was so worth fighting for. So after that, his mother had begged for his release and that of his brother because they were just boys. And his brother was very, very sick. So they released him, surprisingly. And he later went on to tell the story of how his mother came on horseback to get him. And his brother, she rode on one horse, his brother rode on the other, barely hanging on. And Andrew walked with no shoes. They'd stripped him of his shoes all the way home, which was many miles away. Not long after they got home, his brother had passed away. Not long after that, the family got word that some other family members, cousins, I believe, had taken ill. Instead of staying with her youngest son, who had just been released, his mother explained to him that it was duty to go take care of your family. So his mother sat him down and talked to him and told him her views of life and that she would be back, and she went to take care of those cousins, but while she was there, she came down sick and passed away as well. He would share later on in interviews with different people, newspapers and things, that she taught him, one of the main lessons she taught him was family comes first. And you take care of your family, and that's an honorable thing to do. I like that. And so this 14-year-old orphan who had lost his brother, lost another brother, I believe before that, to the Revolutionary War, lost his mother, lost his father, was staying with relatives and was staying with anyone that would take him in. Continued his education and went on to become a lawyer. Started dabbling in other businesses and dabbling in politics, and was elected for several positions. But the invasion of the British was still going on, and something had to be done really quick. I want you to remember too, during that time, you're talking about the biggest world power, which was Great Britain, the biggest world power with the most ships, the most army, the most weapons, the most everything. You would think we'd be completely wiped out. But they had already been in war with other countries, and so they were stretched kind of thin with what they needed. Resources. They were also in a lot of debt from those previous wars. So they didn't have the manpower that they probably could have overrun the United States with at that time. That being said, we weren't winning. We were still being captured. We were still being murdered. And we weren't winning. And it looked like we were going to be governed again by the British. So a victory really needed to happen soon. And you know, when you have a victory, it rallies everyone around you. If you remember the Gulf War here in the United States, the patriotism that happened after that, the way people felt so proud to be Americans. You know, your view on the Gulf War now that we've learned other things in history and we know how many men died, you know, may have changed since then. But at that time, we were victorious and felt that we were liberating a country, and it was contagious, the enthusiasm that you felt for your country. So I kind of want to end it here on Andrew Jackson. When we pick up, we're going to talk about what he did to rally the United States. And it was great. So after I cleaned my beans real well and I snapped them, I let them soak in cold water with salt. So I put in about 2 tablespoons salt and I let that sit for about 10 minutes. And the point of that is to kill any little bugs I may have missed when I was washing my beans several times. Then I rinsed it again with cold water, and I've got them on the stove now. So I'm going to bring these to a boil. I'm going to let them boil about 3 minutes. Then I'm going to drain them and put them in ice water for 3 minutes. And the reason you do that is so that it stops the cooking process. I don't want these to cook all the way. Then I will pat them dry and we'll go from there. After I take the green beans out of the ice water, I put them on a nice linen towel and I pat them dry. And once they're good and dry, I move them over here to my cookie sheets, and I try to spread them out so that they're not touching as best as I can. Then I'm going to take these cookie sheets out in my freezer for maybe 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to flash freeze these so that when I take them out of the freezer, they'll be frozen just like this, just like I've put them in. And then when I put them in the bags, they won't stick together. So this morning I fried up some bacon for my breakfast, and I just left the grease in the pan there. Ooh, listen to that thunder and lightning. It's a good day to be nice and cozy in the house and making green beans. So now I am sauteing onions in that grease, and I'm going to let them drain here, because I'll just add those in at the very end now, but I wanted them to get a little tender. There we go. Okay, so right to the bacon fat, I'm going to add the green beans from my garden. That's the part I was missing, folks. I could not figure out why, when I went to a potluck or a social, those green beans tasted so darn good, but when I came home and tried to make mine, aw, you so precious. He is so bored. We can't get outside, so he's just hanging around hoping that he gets a drop of bacon. So I'm just going to keep these green beans in here just a little bit so that they all get coated with the bacon grease and they start to get tender for just a little bit. Turn the heat up just a bit. Smells really good. But honestly, what does not taste good in bacon fat? I've not found anything yet. So I'm just letting these soak in here for just a second and soak up that good bacon flavor. And then we're gonna put them in a pot. So we'll be right back. So now I've got all my green beans nice and soaked up in that bacon grease. And I let them drain a little bit on my paper towel. And I'm going to add them to my pot. Now here's another ingredient I missed, you guys. I always just cooked my my green beans in water and salt and pepper, and I would add some onion, and you need chicken broth. So we're going to add some chicken broth. We're going to add just enough to cover them, maybe 2 cups or so. And then I also have some new potatoes from my garden, so I'm going to add those. And this part is probably what takes the longest, because you want to cook your green beans really well, and your potatoes, and it takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to add some salt and pepper. You can add garlic salt if you would like. And you can really add anything to this that you want. Corn, carrots. I just like it basic, green beans, onions, and potatoes. And so I'm going to let that boil and cook for as long as it takes until my potatoes and my green beans are nice and soft. And this is the final product and my dinner. Isn't that wonderful? The green beans are so vibrant and pretty, and my potatoes are just delicious looking, and I sprinkled some bacon on top and some salt and pepper and a little bit of butter. So I know that everything I have on my plate was grown by me except for the bacon, and It's all healthy, all natural, hasn't been treated with anything. And I'm going to really enjoy it. And there's just nothing more rewarding. And the rain finally stopped. I hope you guys have a great week. And come back and visit with me later.